actually live. Oh my goodness, I'm actually live. It looks like, yeah, I'm actually live. Haha. Alright, let's get the chat open in case anyone's awake right now. I know hardly anyone's gonna be, but that's fine. It's the middle of the night. I hardly ever sleep or I keep odd hours, so I know there's probably not gonna be that many people here, but you know, hey, it's when I do work. So, yep, I'm going to go ahead and remind people about the tips. That is where, again, I am working for tips, guys. Well, right now, all this is going to the charity and getting things kick-started in that regard. Decent news there. Have the incorporation paperwork in process, and that is off at the state for incorporating the charity. So that is well on track. Have a lot of wonderful projects that want to work with us. A lot of wonderful people that want to learn and help out. So later today, we will be having our first donation drive. So I still need to schedule that stream. I'm going to make sure to put that up there, let everyone know. So later today at 1 p.m. Central Time, we are going to have our donation drive. And that is where the donation drive is where we will demo the donation platform that we're going to be putting out initially. It's our kind of beta version for this thing. That's where you will, for donating, again, as I've mentioned, Audit DAO, a lot of work involved in setting that up. A lot of expensive lawyers to talk to, a lot of companies to talk to and partner with. We want to make sure we get a lot of industry buy-in, and that would delay things. So I want everyone to realize and understand Audit DAO is still happening. Audit DAO is going on, and we are in negotiations with a lot of groups, a lot of companies, and working out the tokenomics on the Audit DAO, well, governance token, the voting token. But to kickstart things so that we can operate a little more effectively, get you guys real value and benefit as fast as possible, some of you might have heard, making it clear, there is another charity, so a whole second charity that is in process and forming right now, and that is what I was commenting on for our donation drive. So that's actually through my church. We're getting properly incorporated as a charity, have some basic staff in place. So again, Audit DAO is happening. Audit DAO, very important, takes a lot of work, we need to get a lot of industry buy-in and setup. So to fast track that, so that we can still operate and be able to get work done, get funding, and speed things along, we are also going and starting another charity. So that's the donation drive we'll be having later today. That's where you will be able to get a NFT, non-transferable, so it's acting as your receipt for the donation. All right, to be clear. Doing that so we can avoid any possible crazy tax liability in the future for people should, if it goes up in value, we're expecting that we can make a solid argument that this thing can't really even have any value because it can't be transferred. So you would be able to buy the NFT or quote unquote, not actually buy, because again, it's not transferred, it's not an asset. You will be donating to the church, the charity that we are forming to help jumpstart Audit DAO and get you value for your donations in auditing code, auditing projects, things like that, right off the bat. And we'll be giving you a nice little commemorative NFT as your receipt. And that's where tax exempt status is filing, because we're a church operating as a charity, especially while in progress to full incorporation. You should be able to make a case that you can deduct that from your taxes. I can't tell you that it is deductible entirely, because that would be entirely up to you making that justification should you get audited, but most of the time precedent has it that if such a charity continues on, gets incorporated, gets the tax exempt status in place, then everything kind of would be approved anyway. But again, can't speak definitely, not a lawyer, not a financial advisor, not telling you what to do, just telling you what our process is and thought. So for that first period, after we do the initial demo of our beta later today, that NFT will only be for sale. It's a special version for just our inauguration, only for, we're giving it away as the receipt, not for sale. Giving away as the receipt for the donation for the time until our next demo, and that should be about 2 weeks. So, I thank you. I hope everything does go well today. I hope the YFMS stuff goes well. I really hope our donation goes well. All of that. So, that is where I wanted to start off with our, well, basically the testing of the YMFS first staking pool. Now, that's where in here, in setting it up, I ran the test, we got our results, so I don't want to necessarily bury the lead on this case, and thus want to make sure, oops, there's the truffle config, there we are. Okay, so don't want to bury the lead on this, so I'm going to start off by showing you the test right off the bat. Now I completely reset, so that way you can be aware no shenanigans are being pulled, nothing's being hidden in the blockchain state. As you can see, I'm creating an entirely new workspace for Ganache. If you're not familiar with Ganache, this is a development tool, very popular, used by, well, any good Ethereum dev, where it's effectively a local development blockchain, you know? It's, whoops, here we are. In being a local development blockchain, we can deploy contracts to it, we can create wallets, we can give ourselves Ethereum, various other tokens. We can get the whole thing running, basically doing whatever we want. So, kind of cool there. This is where the devs, when working on a project, will use this as a way to, well, test out their code. They'll be able to run things, be able to see if the transactions work, all of that. And they can script out using a variety of tools how to actually run those tests. So they can get, well, simulate transactions, simulate transfers. Hey! Good to see you guys. Thank you for joining. Glad you could come in. So, again, gave a little bit of an update. I don't want to bury the lead because I'm sure many people will want an answer. So, this is where, again, I am setting up to rerun the YFMS first staking pool tests. And then I'll dig into the code a bit, show you exactly what's going on. I'll explain a bit about the test process. So, again, catching people up that just joined, right now I am setting up Ganache with the YFMS tests to run. Now, right here, it has the configuration for for the Ganache, which is from the Truffle Suite people, as a local development blockchain. This is a simulation of the Ethereum blockchain. So, that is where we're going to show that. I don't want to bury the lead, but I did want to start off with a completely new Ganache workspace and nothing in there, so that way everyone can see no shenanigans are being pulled. So, right now, but if YMF has mooning over 1K, if it does, I'll be absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled you guys would get profit. I'm very sorry for the price impact previously. Given that it's held steady, you know, since it dropped, I'm thinking that was really just the whales thinking, yeah, fuck it. I was expecting to be able to start staking now. I can't, therefore, I'll just move on. So yeah, that's where have the first staking pool test, have the truffle config imported. So this is how the project is setting up truffle. Again, the setting up Ganache for that info. Now here in the truffle config, there's nothing special going on here. As in, this is not actually executing anything. This is just a configuration to tell the tools that are running, hey, here is where you can find the local instance of Ganache to talk to the blockchain. Here's information about the compilers. Here's information about where the files are in the project. So nothing big or serious going on there, really. So if I click Save Workspace, then boom, I have a local blockchain. This is essentially what is out there in the world. Right now, there is kind of nothing to it, in that I don't have any transactions running. Give it a second to finish starting up and populating things, but as I go through, you know, there's nothing here. That's what I really wanted to show in setting this up, that there is nothing going on in this blockchain now. We do have some wallets set up. That is only because that's the default behavior for this. When you set it up, automatically creates a few wallets, gives them a bunch of Ethereum. So like I said, this is the little development blockchain. Don't think we've got this shit ton of money rolling around, you know. Oh well, thank you for sending that over. By all means, I do appreciate that. I do work for tips from you guys. This is why I set up the charity, so that way you guys can make sure going forward that we are not pulling any scams. We're not looking to pull any profit from this. We want to make sure that we are securing the DeFi community, the entire sector for everyone. And as I said, charity is in progress. The paperwork is in. Again, this is the Bootstrap charity that my church is setting up to help audit DAO form, because that's a much more long and involved process and requires a lot of negotiation. So, starting off with, we're going to do the YFMS test. Like I said, this is the initial state. There is nothing else going on here. There are no transactions entered. There are some contracts ready to go, as you can see, but they're not deployed yet. And that's only because when we brought this in, it looked at the project and went, oh, okay, there's some stuff here. I may want to be ready for that. So again, that's why you see the contracts. That's why you see that there's nothing about them being deployed or anything. They are just sitting here. This thing is just aware of this project, the code here, and that is where it's looking and seeing, okay, well, there's stuff that I will be working with eventually. We'll get back to that. Whoops. So, here is where we will then import this into Ganache. Now, that's done through Truffle itself, and that's where we have this migrate reset. So the migrate reset is going to say, all right, take everything that's in the project and go poof, dump it into Ganache, so that way we can get to work and run some tests. So this is the first step developers usually do when they get to their testing. You know, they'll do their coding, usually not all of it, usually they'll do several tests over time, but this is them loading everything in. So I go truffle migrate reset, and I let that run. There it is, it's running things, and we can see it taking off. And boom, now we can see here, see, it's aware that some of those have been deployed. Now, not all of them have, that's fine. That's because there's a lot of code in here that either is supporting the libraries, like for example, SafeMath, that's a library, that's not actually a contract. It's showing the file in there because that's in the project, but it's not actually a contract that's ever intended to be deployed. Technically, it's not even a contract, it's just code, it's a code library. Same thing with Ownable. Other ones we have, you know, the token locks. These are all intended or part of the project, and thus not absolutely necessary. Okay? So you can see right now in loading it up, we've got portions here. We have the YFMS token itself, because that's what we're working with. We don't need the token sale because that's over. We're not testing that. We have the YFMS vault. That's where the, well, YFMS staking rewards are going to be. That should be Tuesday. I believe around 2 p.m., a little bit after 2 p.m., actually more closer to like 3 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, but please double check that in the transaction logs for the staking pool, and I will be coming back with a Twitter announcement to let everyone know when that's going to happen, and I will definitely be streaming when that's occurring and when the staking goes live. So right now, this is just a demo of the staking pool that will be launched at that time. It is the first one. It's already stated on their roadmap, so you guys are aware of that. So if you've been following the project, you should be aware. If not, then follow your projects better. No offense. And that's where it's going to start off by staking YFMS to earn YFMS. And so you guys can get more for what you have. And then from there, according to the roadmap, it's going to move over to the YFMS ETH pool. And we're going to keep following this through. Alright, so in here, we can see from the migration that it successfully completed the migration. We can confirm that deployments were deployed on the local blockchain. Again, this is not live. This is just on my computer. I don't want anyone thinking this is out on the internet yet, out on blockchain. You can't go interact with what we're seeing here just yet. This is all local on my computer, okay? So we've got the simulated version, the local version of the YFMS token, the internals of it called Cura Anonia, or I should say, it sounds like it's a cure for anonymity. And then we've got the replacing YFMS vault. So that's, again, they're replacing everything, as in it's deploying to this local blockchain, has records of exactly how that executed, what the various costs were. Again, these are costs on this blockchain. It's trying to simulate what is out in the real world, but obviously the costs listed here were not directly reflecting from, the real world. So, with that in place, we have the estimate on the final cost and how many things were deployed. If we go back to Ganache, then we can see that, yep, that balance has changed here. So this first address is the one that deployed the contracts in this scenario. So this is kind of like the developer. We can see with the block, no, we don't have any additional blocks, and we don't need those, so that's fine. I'm sorry, it's adding those in, but we don't need like a whole bunch of additional blocks executing. It's completing the transactions and has them in there. Transactions, we can see that, well, it is running, but we are, there we go. We can see that we have the various calls, and so this is where we can see, all right, contracts were deployed, there was a contract call. So for example, if we look, with migrations, the transaction here, this is something internal for Ganache and getting things loaded up. So again, don't worry about some of the points you see here with migrations and such. There's a little bit of what we call test harness or test framework going on, where we're kind of setting things up for the test. That's why we try to keep those segmented, hence why if you look at contracts, there is that migrations contract. That's part of the test harness here. So again, you can disregard that. The other parts here is, the token, Kirinonia, that's kind of the brains of the thing, and then YFMS Vault. For events, we can see the events that have occurred. So again, this is anything that comes out of an emit. So again, just really showing you, we have our state. We have loaded up the contracts, and it is ready to run. Now, we need to run tests. And again, I don't want to bury the lead. So let's go ahead and run the test, and you can see what happens. Now you can see what the results are. Now, to be clear, I want to warn people, I want to give you a heads up coming in. You're going to see messages in here about failure. You're going to see stuff that says expect failed, and it will say that passes. I want to set everyone's expectation properly, that in development, when you're doing it properly, you need what's called positive and negative development, or also called happy path or unhappy path. The idea being is, it's not good enough to just test that things work. You also have to test that other things will not work. That, if somebody tries to come in, for example, and unstake somebody else's tokens, is that even physically possible? Like, does the code even allow for it? It doesn't, but I'm just laying out scenarios. If someone were to come in and try to execute some governance control or some owner-only function to try to mess with things, is that even working? And so, heads up there, good point is, when we go through this and run it, you will see some stuff that talks about failure. You will see it testing various things that shouldn't be allowed to happen. That's good. That is them testing that everything is going to function as appropriate, including the things that should not happen, won't happen, and can't happen. Alright, so don't freaking out there. So, go ahead and run this, and it goes off. This is actually just some Node.js code. If you're not familiar, it's JavaScript. Node.js is intended as kind of like server-side JavaScript, but it lets you run JavaScript stuff from the command line too. And so, boom, off it goes. There's all the tests, and you can see from all the green checks, that is all the stuff that passed. That's the point. That's why I was saying that in some of these, you'll see like expected error, expected fail. That's fine. That is, everything's good. They're checking that certain things don't work when they should not be working. That's why we've got an expected error and an expected fail in mixed in with all the expected pass that has the green check to make it clear that yes, things did go as we expected in the result, even though the expected result was a failure. We were expecting to have a failure. We were testing to make sure that we would have that failure, So, that is where we can dig through the tests here, and I can verify exactly what's going on and how things are behaving. But again, to be clear, don't want to bury the lead too much. Tests do function, and I will go through the test to verify that for you so you can see exactly what's happening. We'll explain a bit about the code too. So yeah, here it is. Taking a look at exactly what this means as far as the test. We'll start here with the results. So let me make that nice and big so everyone can read that on their screen if they'd like. There we are. So, we start off with the rewards platform, the staking platform, getting all of the staking rewards YFMS reserve. So that's what's locked up in the time vault right now. That's what's going to unlock pretty close to 3 p.m. on Tuesday. I'll probably, again, as I was before, be doing a live stream starting at a bit before 2 p.m. and we'll wait for that to happen, get everything transferred over. That's where in doing this, it's saying, all right, that we got one vault in the YFMS system right now. That's the YFMS vault. So again, the Cura, that is the brains, the platform in general, and then it can receive vaults for staking YFMS. The first one is going to be the YFMS. Now, surprise, it already talked about there being a USDT one, but now we can see, all right, we have that in place. That one is not likely to be active when this launches, at least that's the plan, and therefore, but they're testing in advance, so that way they're getting ready, it's all primed, and thus, it's up there. So again, oh, too many goddamn cables, and now they're wrapped around fucking chair legs. There we go. Sorry, I got too much shit going on. Anyway, so yeah, good. Now, this is confirming that, yep, the daily rewards is set to, we'll find out exactly what this 82 number means. Very likely how much you're earning, but, just understand that that's a variable that's set. We'll dig into the math to show exactly how that's being applied to calculate your reward. It shows that, yep, after that we have the addition of another vault. So that's the idea. We deploy it, we attach one vault. Yes, that works. Yes, we configure it properly. In this case, it's trying to get an error. So it's saying, okay, hey, how about we set up the daily rewards. We show that somebody's going to be getting an 82, most likely, of daily rewards. And then confirm later on, oh, wait, daily rewards shouldn't be ready. So again, that's why that's an expected error. To say, all right, it's not time for the daily rewards to go out. And then we add in the second vault and confirm, yep, there are 2 vaults there. Great. Now, in this case, they are determining that the receiver got 1,000 tokens. In this case, they're like, yep, this is where we can confirm in here. For that, we've got a receiver here. And if we look at the transactions, come on. Oh, I know you have transactions. Load them. Come on, you. Alright, it's taking too long. I will pull that up. But we can see in the events, as that pulls up. Come on. Sorry, everything's a little slow. Welcome to development. This is why we sometimes futz around and appear to be on Twitter all the fucking time while we're coding and working on things. We're like, well, I gotta wait for this kind of shit to go on. So, anyway, as I was saying, don't need to belabor your point there with too much crap happening in this case. So like I said, we've got our entries, we saw our transactions going through, we have our contracts in place. If we want to look at a contract, we can. This is going to pull up all that information for us as it's running, but I will kind of let that, idle over here while we wait for that to show up, and I will focus on going through the rest of the test to show you what we tested, and then I'll show you the code that we used to test this so you can be absolutely sure that yes, we did actually do that. So, in this case, I'll just set that to transactions and see what we can get. Sorry, mine's just taking a little while to run. So yeah, here we are. In this case, we have, there we are. Alright, we'll let that run. Alright, so here we did a test to confirm that, a wallet has insufficient funds to stake, so we're confirming that, yep, nobody will be able to stake if they don't have anything. We also confirmed that there's an invalid user, so we have the owner trying to do, or somebody trying to do something as another user. And we're like, yep, that doesn't work, you can't pretend to be somebody else. And then we have the confirmation that the receiver, the one who originally had tokens, actually got, or was able to stake more tokens, and have then account, another one that is able to stake more tokens. Fantastic. So that's confirmed that, yep, the various users can properly stake. In here, they're checking the balance to say, all right, we just tested that they can stake, now does the vault actually report that they have that YFMS stake? I'm like, yep, it does. they're looking back to see, all right, well, what is the balance there? So again, this is likely after the staking rewards. Like, okay, well, you staked this there in the receiver, it got the 400, staked 200, and here it's saying, okay, the receiver got the 400, the receiver has a balance of 600, so actually I have to double check. I believe here the receiver is saying that it is referring to the staking rewards being made available, but we'll double check that in the test. Sorry, it's just been a long day. I kind of lost track of which ones are what, you know? So, yeah, then it's showing that, okay, count balance, we've got YFS Vault has 600, and we can confirm that the account balance, so again, this person here that staked 200, we can confirm that, yes, the Vault has 600 total, because it had 400 to begin with, and then that account added 200, and this account balance shows that it has 200. So again, we can see, no, it's not online now. To be clear, not online. I'm showing tests, okay? This is local tests. Sorry to be there, I didn't mean to be rude, but, you know, this is local tests I'm doing on my local environment. This is not live. There is not out on the blockchain yet. The devs gave me the code. They have written their tests. I and the team, both Jeff and Yaxoria, at this point I'm pretty sure they're comfortable with me naming. Yeah. They're the the Ethereum software engineer, Jeff, who's been helping me out in going over these audits and reviewing code and making sure tests are done properly, and Yaxoria is our general software engineer and QA lead, and Jeff is also the development lead right now. So we'll be bringing on more staff as that goes on. But again, they went through, they confirmed things, double-checked it all, and let me know. They ran it down for me. I went through with them and double-checked their work. So we're doing like double and triple checks here. You know, the YFMS devs are writing things, then we got our people double-checking things, and then I'm overseeing and double-checking their things. We're getting this triple check on it, and we're just showing the test right now. So this is what will be out there when it comes out, all right? So, shows here, all right, they're staked, and the balance is being tracked properly. Awesome. Then it's testing that the receiver unstaked, so they're trying to take it out. They're checking to see, okay, how much does the YFMS Vault have? None. It has none, and there. Now again, in this case of withdrawing things, again, marking receiver, this is a test to withdraw, and we're just testing out various models. So again, understand that if these numbers don't seem to quite add up, they're not intended to. They're testing different scenarios, and thus in testing different scenarios, different balances, different transfers are going to be done, alright? So, to be clear here, don't worry that we suddenly have this case like, wait a minute, the vault was just emptied. That's intended as the case of, you know, we're running a scenario of someone has all of that in there and then someone takes all of that out. That's why you can see there that they're able to have all that YFMS, or the 990 YFMS, but that doesn't add up to the previous numbers, so I don't know necessarily freaking out there. So many rug pulls and hacks today. HatchDAO and GemSwap rugged. Yeah, I heard about GemSwap. I actually wandered in like just after it happened. That is shitty. I hear that it is because they onboarded a dev and then approved them to make migration changes, and then that dude walked off with it. I cannot comment on the veracity of that, or if that's a smokescreen or whatever, you know? So, well, I will reserve judgment there. I'm just reporting what has been reported, at least through official channels there. And actually already invited several of the guys over to the Auditing server and gave them a GemSwap investigation channel so that they can work there. Fortunately, we got a lot of stuff I need to do, so I haven't been able to jump in on that. But again, we're working on getting to where we can properly try to help these things out and work with communities when these things sort of do happen. So we're not just working to try to prevent future rug pulls, hence why we're in partnership with Team Finance to integrate with their platform. We'll be looking at others. Really want to talk to the lid guys on integrating with them, because we're platform and protocol agnostic. We will work with anyone that's a legit project. And they're both legit projects, and we just like to give our people as many options as possible. Well, I should say, our customers, when people come through their project, we want to give them as many options as possible. Now, again, here, for the vault, we can see, alright, the vault has participants, cool. we can see that the balance of the vault is 200. Balance of the Cura vault, or should I say the YFMS vault is 200. That's the stake that was done previously. The Cura vault still has remaining YFMS, and so it's saying, all right, I still hold on to that, and thus we've got our buy and burn option there. And again, the various things that people are doing. Again, don't worry if the numbers don't match up. These are just testing different scenarios. It's not really intended to go, step by step by step for everything. Oh, question in chat. So, what do you think of Bitfinex and Tether ability to freeze USDT funds in the hacker wallet? This is so wrong about decentralization. Feels like the Chinese government, man. Burnt admin keys to prevent more tokens being minted. Actually, the minting function is not available within the token code. So to be clear here is that when you're asking, okay, have the keys been burned to prevent it being minted? Burning the keys itself is not, I don't want to say you're wrong there, but I just want to give a clarification, is that burning the keys to be able to mint something, first off, the code has to have the ability to mint further in the first place, and the code for YFMS token just doesn't have that. Like, there is nothing that can be called in the token code that would allow for the creation of any more tokens. So, it doesn't really even matter if keys have been burned or not. The token code doesn't even have the ability to be able to do that. So, yep, not even an option. You got it exactly. And that's why I just wanted to take that chance to, like, educate folks. I wasn't saying you wouldn't know, but, like, when folks ask me questions, pardon if I seem to be going on at length, I kind of take it as the opportunity to, like, hey, this is a good point. Let me throw in some extra info for anyone else in the audience that might not be aware of what's going on. Yeah, as far as the USDT thing, that is kind of the thing that goes against decentralization and is kind of a pain and trouble in the whole structure. That's where I would have to check in to see exactly how that's occurring, because, to be clear, I haven't dug into the Tether code yet. I'm not sure if they froze the transfer in Tether itself, and therefore, like that, they've got a function in the code there that would prevent a balance from some, like, banned list of wallets, transfers from banned list of wallets, or if it's that on Bitfinex, they technically, you're giving them your tokens, and thus, if someone has USDT deposited in Bitfinex, the freeze doesn't have to happen on the Tether side. Bitfinex can just prevent withdrawal for wherever you've deposited those. So again, I'm not sure which way it's going, so I can't comment just yet on whether or not it actually is like a decentralized problem or whatever. There's no transfer block. Okay, cool. So I designed what Ponzi? Okay. I got no idea what you're talking about, that you love the way I designed the Ponzi. I haven't designed anything. I don't have a project. I don't have a coin. I'm consulting on this to make sure the code is safe, but alright. If you'd like to elaborate, I have to address that, but for the time being, I'm just going to ignore that and move on with actual points here. Oh, he's blocking that, that's all. Okay, yeah. So, got it. That can kind of make sense. Thanks for clarifying, Alejandro. So yeah, there's not some magic control. I would say it's not exactly magic. Technically, the code could do that, and actually I might do up a demo sometime to show people how that could be possible, why you need to be very, very careful about looking at what you're buying there. But yeah, that sounds like you're pointing out that it was the other scenario I was talking about, which is when you work with a centralized exchange, you're giving them your tokens, and thus they go through. Okay. I'm sure that's about to lead up to some, like, weird little passive-aggressive wannabe joke. Whatever. Go ahead, get it out of your system there. I know a lot of folks want to think that I am up to something. I don't know why. I'm just talking about projects, but whatever. Go ahead, make your joke, feel free. So, as I was saying here, in the structure of the tests, here we are. How much do I spend on auditing code? Um, that's where it kind of depends on the complexity of the project and exactly what's going on. A No, I can't give you financial advice. All I can do is tell you if the code functions, and I can tell you what I would do or what I am doing. I can tell you right now, I am holding on to the YFMS that I have received for consulting on this, and the tips that I have gotten for going through this, and thus, as far as my fee, that is mostly just donations to the charity. So I don't really have a set fee on this. Typically, when I do an audit, and I'm not doing them now until we finish our code, I don't actually charge the devs. I take the payment from you guys. You guys tip me whatever. Um, so you guys tip me whatever when you are going through and liking the audits. For okay, cool. From the devs, I get nothing. This is a different case where I am not auditing YFMS. I am consulting with them to help ensure the security of the software. And so that's why we're in before it's live. That's why we're reviewing things, giving advice. That's also why I've gotten payment there, and I've gotten it in YFMS. And I've talked about that before and been very, very clear that this is one where I was engaged as a consultant. I brought in Jeff too. He is helping out as consultant. We are aiding to ensure what's going on. Why am I so sweet? Well, that's because while boys may be made from snips, snails, and puppy dog tails, puppies are we're kind of that mix of there. We're like snips, snails, and sugar and spice because we're nice and sweet. But anyway, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so where was I? Oh yeah, so we're testing things further. So here we've got a confirmation that yes, one of the contracts that's staked is in there, and we can mark that. You can message me on Twitter. You found it through there. My DMs are open. Message me. I will set the expectation, as I always do. I'm not auditing code. We are working on getting our code out there and working on integrating with teams. We're hitting our first milestone. Well, we already hit it. We're doing a demo later today, and our donation drive, we're putting up the donation platform for the first charity, and that's where we'll be giving out for a limited time as a receipt to commemorate the launch a special NFT. So you make a donation, at least 0.1 ETH. We'd appreciate anything more, and we will give you an NFT, a non-transferable NFT, so it can't be traded. That might sound like a bit of a jip, but to be clear, there can be major tax liability for somebody making a donation and then receiving a valuable gift in return. They have to deduct that difference, and then if that gift goes up in value, then we might have inadvertently caused someone some major tax liability if that thing shoots up in value, and now you have to pay the gains on that and everything. So we're making that non-transferable. That'll be kind of your proof that you got in on the ground floor, you were there at the very beginning, and it'll be attached to that wallet. We're just disabling the transfer function in the code. It's pretty standard for a lot of NFTs where where you can disable them. So yeah, how long does it take me to get through project? I'll just kind of scroll through this so you guys can see it. Like I said, depends on the complexity of the project, depends on how well the code is written, how prepared the devs are. That's why we generally ask, well, you gotta have tests, you gotta have your code in there properly. I'd like to have architectural diagrams, what's called a flow diagram, and so on. And so, blah, blah, blah. We try to get them all set up so we can do as little work as possible, at least as trying to be able to run tests. Mostly what we want to focus our work on is reviewing the code and reviewing the tests and making sure everything is written properly. So the most the dev can do to give us information about how they say it should be working, and test to show that we can do a basic analysis to confirm, all right, the code functions, let's go verify that it is doing everything properly. I typically can get through, usually it's best to measure these things on lines of code. I can usually get through about a line of code a minute. That's partly because, some of the stuff I can just blow right by because it's all standard stuff and I can tell by glancing. And then the later stuff, got to spend a few minutes digging through stuff. And again, the more complicated it is, the longer it can be. So most projects I can usually finish a proper audit. You guys don't see the whole thing. The first few videos I did were very ad hoc and rough, but there's actually a lot of work that goes on. When we get word of a project in advance, we're doing a fair bit of work beforehand. So the 3 or 4 hour streams you see are usually the end of about 5, 6, sometimes 8 hours of work prior to that to double check everything and get it in line. So, if you want to hire me, then get me on Twitter. We will accept donations for the church and the charity to get set up, and then later on audit DAO. But again, to be clear, we're not helping out with a lot of projects just yet. We should be in a stage to help out with more projects once we finish our integration with Team Finance for secure token locks. Possibly LID. I'm reaching out to contact them to see how we can negotiate that integration. Not that we need to. We'd like to work with them directly and get some help there. And then get Yeld.finance out as our first premier project. They were signed on a while ago for that. They've been waiting very patiently, and we'll be launching them first as our first real audited project as a charity. So that'll probably be around mid-October, end of October. If any project out there wants to work and is happy to, by all means, we're happy to. Just understand we can't really do that sort of auditing like we had been until that point, and we're going to be very, very busy, so might not even be available for consulting. Talked to these people much earlier, and so this is just me kind of finishing up previous work that we've committed to as we, clear our plate to move other things. So here, how do you manage your time doing so much together at all times? I do sleep. I don't sleep much. I kind of just go until I fall over. And then falling over, it's usually these periods of, like, if I get a little tired, I'll take a little nap. And then I just go until I'm ready to really go to sleep. And then I usually sleep like 4, maybe 6 hours at most. It's kind of polyphasic sleep. If you look it up, like Einstein did it, Buckminster Fuller did it, supposedly Tesla did it, Turing did it. It's a thing you can train yourself to do, but it's also a thing that some people just seem to do naturally, where you just kind of take little naps throughout the day and then take a longer period of sleep, like 2 or 4 hours. Usually it ends up being not exactly the same. Like, if you total it all up, I'm probably sleeping like 6 hours a day. And even then, a couple of those hours are more like meditative rest than actual sleep. But anyway, yes, thank you for pointing out. Yeah, not technically auditing the code. This is a demo. It's not live yet. As I said before, many people know, I don't consider a off-chain audit as an audit. That's a code review. Until we can get a secure verification that the code was deployed from GitHub in a secure manner to the chain, in my mind, it kind of doesn't fucking matter what an auditor that looked at it in private off the chain or before it got deployed to the chain had to say, because they can't seem to provide any evidence that the code they reviewed is what made it to the chain. And in all these projects, they say, oh yes, it was audited by this company. I look at them like, okay, well, where is your audit trail? Like, where's the transaction log? Where's the behavior? Like, how do I even know that? I'm not doubting the auditors. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just pointing at, like, I see a giant gap here, guys, where you say you looked at the code and you've signed off on it, but I don't see any record or any evidence that you have that the code you audited is what's on the blockchain. I mean, did they do it in your office when you were watching them? Did you guys deploy the code? Like, I need something here, guys. Otherwise, this is the same fucking problem we had with the central banks. Problem with central banks, they take your money, they go off in private, they do a bunch of things you're not entirely aware of, and then they come back and tell you that you earned interest or maybe lost everything. You're like, what the fuck? I don't know what happened. Like, okay, well, we solved that by moving all the transactions out to a blockchain where everyone can review it, and anyone can take action. So, like, awesome. Essentially, the blockchain is kind of like a central bank that anyone can audit at any point without even notifying them that it's occurring. But then you try to secure the code on there by taking the code off in private, reviewing it, doing things we can't entirely see, and then coming back and telling us that this code will generate profit. I'm not saying you're bad, in the sense that, like, I don't think you're up to anything malicious or nefarious, but, like, auditors, like, do you see the fucking problem here? Like, you haven't really solved anything. I know it's entirely based on your reputation, but, a reputation is only worth what you can get out of it. And so, like, at a certain point, the payoff of a scam is greater than maintaining your reputation, or you're to be honest, you're not taking the proper safeguards. Like, I don't even know that you're properly safeguarding this shit. Like, even if I believe your audits, even if I believe everything's fine, and believe that you're never gonna fall prey to, that moral hazard of, well, I could take part in a scam here. you're just not giving us the right evidence and verification. So I don't want to sound like I'm like shitting on them too much, but it's like, guys, we can do better. So yeah, they're also charging a crap ton. In there, you're like 50,000 to audit code, new projects, unless with strong financial systems can't pay that, much less in fees. Auditors like Hacken and likes are Predator. I don't know Hacken. Never heard of it. I don't know if that's a person or a company. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. I'll take a look at them. I've known mostly like Trail of Bits and Seartic. Again, I'm not saying all of them are terrible. I'm not disagreeing with you either on that Predator stance. It's just professionally in my position. I'm not saying they're bad or horrible. I'm just pointing out this is not a solution to the system, guys. This is not a result, and I understand you guys have to get paid, but I don't want to make a profit. I like code. The fact that I get to see all of this stuff and work with brilliant people on various projects and see various economic experiments, and I get to watch the numbers move around and the graphs jump all over the place, like, I'm happy with that. As long as my bills and shit are paid and I've got computer equipment and I get to watch the numbers dance around, I am a quite content doge. Autism is my superpower. So, I don't give a shit about the money, alright? I've been up, I've been down, I'm down now, but who gives a fuck? Like, it's not that hard. So, that's where I don't fault them for having to make a profit, but I'm like, I don't need to, and I can solve this fucking problem easily enough. I got a church full of computer nerds that worship data. We can turn to a charity, kickstart Audit DAO, and just solve this fucking thing. So, and everyone likes the idea of the live streamed audits, and we're working on that. But anyway, not to belabor that point, I appreciate the questions. I do want to get through the test. As you could see from before, for anyone that joined, all the tests pass. It's doing various tests to confirm, like, yes, you can stake, you can unstake, you can't stake when you don't have anything, you can't unstake when you don't have anything. It's checking in to see that, yes, has the various addresses that have staked, do they have those? Are they listed properly? And so on. So overall, you can see, like, alright, seems to go through, and does seem to show that. One point here, as you can see, when it's showing the YFMS Vault participants, and that's going down, well, as you can see, each account is unstaking in turn, and as it unstakes, we finally get to the last one that unstakes, and then we can see, yep, the vault has no more participants, and lo and behold, all of that transacting back and forth, yes, YFMS was burned. So pretty well we can see, at least according to the tests, and what they report, hey, stuff seems to work. Now, one point there. That's what the tests say. And that's cool and all, but we can't just go based on the output. We do need to actually dig into the tests themselves and double check that the tests are actually accurate. Because, you know, we've got these messages here that say, oh, this is where it's running, this is where it's executing, whatever, and thus we can end up with cases where it's like, well, if we just go by the test output, are we sure that it's offering and running? Oh, thank you. You think that I'm a great guy. I am just a humbled servant of the data. I love data. I love data so much. Like, I and the other guys in the charity, we really do love the data. We really do love the work, and we're quite content to just go through the data. We're happy with that. We're happy designing systems. We get a wonderful thrill when we've managed to put together a system where, like, ooh, it works, and you can't really break it. Like, I pride myself on designing infinitely scalable systems, and folks joke, like, how is that possible? I'm like, well, watch, I'll do it. And designing systems like you could scale all the way down to running on one server, scale them all the way up to as many servers as you could possibly run. I just get a little thrill of that. I'm like, look, it gets small, it gets big. It gets small, it gets big. Anyway. So yeah, that's what I said. We want to then come look at the test. So again, not bearing the lead. Anyone that's interested, test pass. Now we're double checking the tests that were written to be absolutely sure that they do function. So in this case, we can see here in the test code that it's starting with some basic lookups. So again, this is kind of setting up the test here where it's asking the testing environment, asking basically this local version of the blockchain that we're testing on, hey, I need references to these addresses, and because they're generated when the contract is deployed, I gotta ask you what they are. So, boom, here they go. Getting information, setting up the, oh, thank you, I'm glad you think I'm funny. I'm also kind of a jerk and an asshole, and I definitely can have, like, an angry temper, but mostly it just comes down to, like, angry frustration at people not being better, because I know people can be better, and it's just like this, why you? Why you this? What are you doing? Just, just stop this and just be better. It's not that fucking hard. Anyway, sorry. But that's the whole point of my work. I teach, I help out solve problems. I generally just want people to be better, and I think they got it in them. So fuck it. I don't need a profit. I just want people to be better so my life isn't so difficult and things don't suck as much. I'll get my profit in the world sucking less. Thank you. Alright, anyway. So yeah, here we are. Going through, setting up some points. For example, getting reference on being able to talk to the system. Being able to have information on, you know, converting from ETH to way to ETH. And again, all of these are basic libraries. That's why I'm not digging into what happens here. You know, web3.utils. All of this. This is just standard stuff that's in a JavaScript library, and they just imported that library. They don't even have the code for that right here. It's just there. Setting the burn address, awesome. They're setting up that wait function to say, all right, here's how much we'll wait, and so on. So that way, when things are running, they can wait for that to come back. I do try to be transparent and honest. Thank you. I got no reason to lie. Because I kind of don't, I just want data. I just want data, and I want people to stop bitching and get to work. And the easiest way to get people to stop bitching and get to work is to make sure that they don't have something to bitch about. Hence, you stop the rug pulls, or at least give them an option to verify that a rug pull is highly, highly unlikely. Then there's one less thing for them to fucking worry about, and then they can just stop bitching and get to fucking work. Because I just want everyone to stop bitching and get to fucking work on whatever thing you have as your passion, and do that. So, as far as transparency, as well as the fact that I'm autistic, I'm terrible at keeping secrets. I just talk about shit. Like, I always tell people, like, alright, look, unless you're contract me as a consultant, and I really will have special information, I'm not going to sign NDAs. The only NDAs I sign are, I'm not going to talk about how your system, like, internally functions. I'm not going to talk about, you know, the specifically architecture, the data centers you're in, that sort of stuff. Otherwise, I do not give a shit. I am not ashamed of anything. If somebody goes off and comes back and is like, so I found you in that weird, like, mayonnaise-loving, kinky chat room. Like, huh, how'd you wander in there yourself? Uh-huh, alright. And I also don't give a crap. Someone wants to point out and be like, you're a weird degenerate. You do this thing. Like, okay, I do that thing in private. The only way you could have found out about it is if you were prying. So, which one of us is the asshole here, you know? Hey, you know, if someone wants to dress up in rubber and hang themselves upside down from the ceiling and while getting spanked with a spatula by somebody drenched as a French chef and have butter thrown in their face, that is entirely up to them, by my opinion. Now, anyway, moving on here. Oh, look! Funny, looks like they're a little base. They're marking their failure message as Keck. Ha ha ha. What do you feel about projects like HatchDAO, Rug Pull, and Take People's Money? I think they are horrible, evil scum. I don't know what Mayo is. I'm not sure if it can be spent to cover fees for incorporating and maintaining a charity. Sure. If it's just a thing, you can send it as a joke if you'd want. My wallet is full of these, like, weird little shit coins, and I guess I'm just slowly collecting them. So I don't mind if you send it. I'm not going to be bothered, but, like, if it has any sort of value, I'd appreciate that tip, by all means. I'll use that for helping set up the charity and shit. Otherwise, if you want to send something as a joke, feel free to do that, too. I mean, my wallet here that I've been accepting these things in initially, and that's where you guys remind me that I have the charity multi-sig wallet set up. Right now, since I'm the only one on the charity paperwork, then legally I'm the only one that can be the signatory on the wallet, but we'll be very quickly going through and getting that managed there and adding people on as we pick the directors and whatnot. Mostly just need to confirm with the guys, like, which one of you are willing to dox yourself and go on the board here, because we got to do that. Also want to make sure the corporation paperwork goes through so that if something does happen, I don't inadvertently, like, dox someone too fucking hard before it happens. So, once that's in, we'll come back with the EIN. You guys can verify that it exists. You'll be able to try to figure out which of them might be me. I'm not really trying to hide. This has been my handle since I was, like, fucking 6. So, this is kind of who I am. Anyway, you know, like, Batman isn't Bruce Wayne. He's Batman. Alright, so anyway, like I was saying here, they named their little failure variable Keck. They're getting information about the accounts and getting that. They're going through, and in the accounts, setting up which of the various variables they're going to work with as which account. So again, this is them reaching into the blockchain and saying, all right, when in this local environment of the blockchain, we pulled out, oh yes, by all means. Oh, well, thank you for sending some ETH. I will remind anyone, anyone that sends a donation, we're going to work through and try to find who that is, but if you could help me out, message me on either Twitter or Discord the transaction hash for that. I'm keeping those messages, and we're planning when we get some decent donations in and thus can properly cover the cost, because minting NFTs is insanely expensive compared to other transactions. We do plan on coming back. Yes, everyone that donates up until the creation of Audit DAO will get involved in that initial launch and pre-sale. Still working with attorneys and needing to figure out like exactly what's legal, make sure what's there, but from what we can tell, being able to donate to have a vote in a charity and how it operates is completely legal, and even though the vote might technically be transferable, probably not up to us. We need to double check things like that. On top of that, so we should be able to have a donation drive where we are going to give out those tokens. Since you guys have already been donating prior to that being the case, you guys didn't even know that there might be a charity. You're not positive that it would be tax deductible. You're having faith in me and following through, and I appreciate that. So as soon as we have enough donations and funds in that we can cover the minting cost, we're going to go back through all those transaction logs, and you'll still be included in the, has a special grant based on your donation of the Audit DAO governance tokens that we'll be putting out in the future. It might be a little while to show that we appreciate your patience there. We'll, one, come back and do like a commemorative NFT to everyone that's donated. And the only way to get that one, it'll again be non-transferable to act as your receipt. We'll come back and catch up on the receipts there. The only way to get that one is to donate prior to Audit DAO forming. And so you can just send that over, and we'll, boom, get that. Well, so long as you send me the transaction log to make sure we don't miss anything, either on Twitter or Discord, you guys should have all of that, then by all means, we will go through and track that and make sure you send those out. And then later on, you'll be involved in that initial donation drive to give out the governance tokens too, and we'll send you some of those. So, anyway, again, all of that's coming up. I just thank you for your patience. Wanted to give that heads up there. So, looking through the test, as I said, we're going to go through, because when we set up the local blockchain, it creates some accounts for us to work with. Any updates on Core? I looked at Core. Core seems to be operating as intended. For those that aren't aware, they're talking about C Vault, as in Charlie Vault.finance. They updated their site a little while ago, where there's more interface, there's more things in, you can see things like the farm and whatnot, and they are taking their ETH payment when it looks like it is going to be done in about 7.5 hours. Depending on the time, I got to check that. That might be something I can do as a quick stream. We've got our donation drive where we're launching a donation platform and giving out NFTs as a receipt for the donation. Limited time NFT, only way to get it, and only time it will ever be available is from when we launch the donation platform to when we do our next demo. And we are planning that in 2 weeks. So there should be a 2-week window where anyone that donates can come in. Now, we weren't sure. We wanted to have a referral process and a leaderboard thing in there. So that's where we couldn't get a clear answer on the legalities of such things and how that might work. So we're holding off on the leaderboard initially there, but we would still like to have a referral program. So that's where if you donate to the platform, to the church, the first charity, and you get your NFT, and the minimum donation 0.1 ETH. Just had to put in the minimum donation because there's various transaction fees and whatnot, and we can't let it get too low. But we want to make it easy. We want to make it simple for anyone to buy in, to be able to contribute, and they'll all get that NFT. Now, mind you, we will have the transaction log for when you get the NFT, and so what we're doing is we don't have the code in there yet because we didn't want to complicate things too much, but we will have ownership and governance over the NFT token itself, and obviously the donation platform because you have to maintain that. So we're planning that we'll go back through and update the metadata for everyone's NFT to show how much they donated. So that way, when you'll have your NFT, it'll be non-transferable, to be clear, that will be in your wallet. You'll be able to have the nice picture for the logo of the charity that we're forming. Again, not exactly Audit Gal, one we're forming to lead up to that, to be clear. And then when you get that, we're going to, again, we want to make sure we can hit a milestone and get things in place because we promised it would be Saturday. And so we'll come back and update the metadata on everyone's NFT to say, all right, this one NFT is tied to this amount of a donation. And we can track that through the transaction logs. That's why I was just asking people to help out. If you donate at any point, we can track it down, but to be clear, if you haven't donated through the donation platforms, well, up until now you've donated directly to me to help me out to clarify things. If anyone that does that can make sure that they send me the transaction hash for their donation. Use the Etherscan link would be perfectly fine. Do that on Twitter or Discord. That way I have that archived and we can make sure that goes through. Pixel art NFT. It's not pixel art. It's actually the logo for the charity with some nice enhancements to indicate this is the inaugural version that was only available for these 2 weeks. Should be 2 weeks. Please don't hold me to that. It's technically until we do the next demo. When we do the next code demo, part of that will be switching the donation platform from one NFT to another, and then that NFT is still out there, but it will never be available as that receipt again for donation. So that is the only time. Should be 2 weeks, but technically it will be when we do the next demo. So in that time, it's the only time you can get it. It is not transferable. We will update it as we go through with the metadata on how much you have donated. In fact, that's the idea that we have here, is that if people come back and make multiple donations, we're not going to give them another NFT. We're just going to keep updating the metadata on that to say, okay, well, they donated multiple times. We only gave them one NFT, and it's non-transferable, so we'll just keep updating the metadata for their NFT specifically and say, okay, this person has donated this much over time. So that way we can have that information. But that means that we have to retain ownership and come back and update it. So that's also where we want to have protections to make it like future-proof it. Right now, the NFT specification doesn't have a standardization for defining an IPFS link. And I won't get into the tech there, but we have to go through the HTTP gateway to IPFS. We're not thrilled about having that single point of failure there, even though IPFS.io isn't going anywhere. We'd still rather go direct. So that's another reason we're maintaining ownership of that, is so that when that specification does get updated and we can do that, we already have the logo up in IPFS, and we'll just update the metadata to say, all right, you don't need to go through HTTP anymore, you can go over to IPFS. We'll probably still have the HTTP one. But anyway, cool. Thank you all for the questions. I do appreciate that. By all means, feel free to let everyone know about the NFT coming out. That'll be coming up. We'll do that donation drive 1 p.m. Saturday, or actually 1 p.m. today. So in a few hours, where we'll put out the platform, we'll explain it, we'll show the auditing process, the initial first alpha version of the library in place. It's one of many options that we have in design. We're actually trying a few different ways to get that process done. That way we have options to developers depending on how they have done things. They have a few different ways they can make their contracts auditable, and some of them have provisions for us to have an actual auditing platform contract. So that way we can keep an archive on the blockchain of all the contracts, have they been audited, and all that information. So again, we'll be doing all of that. So back to the tests here. I do appreciate the questions, and it does help. Feel free to tell people. I'll be scheduling the stream and sending out that tweet as soon as we finish up here. So that's where we need to focus on this and get through it. So again, this point here for the test, pulling in the accounts that are already there so we can do some work with them, going up and looking up to see, okay, make sure that we get the reference to the deployed token so that we know that, because up here it's getting a reference to the contract instance, but it hasn't quite gotten the address. Like, okay, here is all the information about the various contracts that are out there, and then down here is where it's saying, okay, first go wait for them to actually deploy and finish that up. So confirm that it is, there is actually deployed. That's why it has the await operation there, and that's why it says deployed. Again, this is something that's part of the framework. This is a way the test can say, all right, I need to make sure this is deployed. And it's actually going out there and kind of confirming that it's all in place. Now, from here, we're doing a little wait here. We're like, all right, we're going to wait for all this task to complete, and then we'll move on. Then down here for balance, we're getting the balance of the token to confirm that, yes, when it deployed, the token was transferred over properly. So then, again, they're just kind of redoing in the tests what happened when they launched the token the first time and did the pre-sale. They didn't include the pre-sale contract here because it's not necessary. Like, that's over. It's not relevant to what we're testing, so we don't need to bring that in. Now, they're doing basic work on approving things. Namely, they're approving the deployer, which has tokens to be able to transfer. Same thing, they're approving the Cura address to be able to transfer. And same thing with the vault. This is all standard stuff. This is just like when you click approve on Uniswap or anything else, okay? Now, this is where they then transfer over to the staking rewards brain, essentially. This is where they interact with everything and how that goes through. So that's why it's not going into the vault. The intention is, as you see, that it goes into the the orchestrator, as we would term it, or the controller for the staking platform. This is also where it's going to get information about those rewards, the vaults, to place that in there. And so, boom, off it goes. Now, that is where, in running this, we can see, and, oh, pardon as we have our little entries here. They're being cute with their terminology. Where was I? Oh, yeah, so, with this, and it kind of translates over when it's showing points and loading those up, you know. Where were we? Oh, yeah, so, in here it does the approvals. It then does the transfer. Sorry, we're going to need to put those into the staking rewards platform. Double checks that, yes, the rewards platform has that. Puts out that message. That's why we have up here the, you know, Cura balance is, and boom, off it goes. So, there we are. Alright, here we are. And this is another test that was run. So this is where we have the simulation that's running here. And so that's what I want to highlight is, like, this is the reward simulation. This is the actual, you know, we're running through and doing the entire simulation here. So again, there's some overlap there. That's why I'm showing one versus the other and pointing out that we are testing all the various scenarios. So we got one test here where we're testing the reward simulation. We got one test here where we're testing the entire thing, okay? Now in this, it's setting up the same way, as you can see. It's going through and it's like, all right, we're going to get reference to the token, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have a function to be able to wait if that's a period of time. And further, we're going to make sure we get all the information about the various accounts and about the methods and such, so on. Just want to highlight there. Now, we're checking here to see, okay, we got the balance, so the staking rewards platform, the Cura address, has the tokens at that point. This is simulating that transfer from the vault where they are now over to the staking rewards platform. They're confirming here by actually going in and getting that back and saying, ah, yes, confirm that you have that. Boom, they do. And then they're actually adding the YFMS vault to Cura. All right, so that's where they're passing that reference to the vault, or they're giving the name for the vault. They're double checking the number of vaults, and that's where we have the expected pass, and we saw that, yep, we've got a vault added. All right, so yeah, got the question. How do Twitter influencers just shield projects for money without even reviewing their basic code? Have they got no liability to their followers? You are the most transparent influencer I've met. Well, thank you. One, I appreciate that you're thinking I'm the most transparent. I appreciate that. You know, you got my wallet address. I will point out, everyone, I don't want to give a false sense of security. I mean, remember, anyone can have any number of wallets. It's if they're not great, then, you know, there can be overlap and you can watch the transactions move from one to another. But, you know, a smart person practicing proper operational security, or OPSEC, would have they would run their scans through a completely different wallet, and therefore you wouldn't really know there was a connection. Technically, I'm not terribly careful about it. This is just my handle. I'm not really trying to be anonymous and have, like, I don't give a shit if you find out my name. But it's kind of who I am. I've had this handle since I was 6, like I said, so whatever. Technically, if you dig through the transaction logs for, you know, coyote.eth, coyote.crypto, they both point to the same wallet address. You dig through the transactions there, you should be able to find something in there that points you to, like, a couple centralized exchanges that you could go track me down on if you really, really wanted to. So, I'm pretty sure that there's nothing for them to find. Like, you what? Bring them and say, this guy audited code that turned out to be a scam, and they look at the video and be like, what, I don't see where he did a scam. All he did was say, this code is bad, or this code is good, but by the way, you gotta trust your devs, so whatever. Anyway. So that's also why I'm not, like, worried about it at all. But yeah, as far as they do that, I put it down as a lot of them either don't know that they should be checking the code, like, they hear all the stuff about how crypto is safe and secure, and they just think, like, oh, okay, well, that means the devs can't really pull any serious shenanigans. Like, nah, code devs can do whatever the fuck we want in the code. We don't have to write a proper token. We can do all kinds of crazy shit in there. So, you kind of have to check the code. Second, I think that, alright, for the forthright ones, they probably don't care. In the sense that, like, they don't know enough to check, they don't know enough to look for, and they kind of just trust the auditors, and I'm making the case here, like, we can't trust the auditors. I'm not saying I distrust the auditors, I'm just saying that's not a good enough record, guys. Sorry. Not faulting you. Well, I am kind of faulting you professionally. This is a terrible idea that you did. But, I'm not saying you're bad people. I'm just saying, why the fuck are you doing this? So, anyway. That's where... so yeah, I think they either don't care, that or they're in on the scams, and therefore they don't need to check the code. They just confirm that. But I think from the way I've seen various like shills do that, from the reading some of them, I think they've gotten scammed sometimes too. Like even the shills that you can point and say like, I'm almost positive you're in on the scams because it just keeps fucking happening. Some of the stuff from my social engineering background and consulting with law enforcement, I kind of get the read that there are times when they don't even realize the scam that's in the code. They think the scam is going to be something else later on, like a pretty standard pump and dump, and then they get rugged by the dev that enlisted them to do the scam. So it's like they scammed the shill to say, okay, well, we'll do this rug pull over here. And the shill's like, yeah, I'm down in for the rug pull. Let's do that. I'm sorry, we'll do the pump and dump. The shill's like, yeah, totally. I'm in for the pump and dump. We'll get that set up. Fantastic, boy. And then they're going through the shilling process to build up to the pump. They're building up the pump to get to the dump, and then the dev seems to pull the rug and yank liquidity. And at times, I'm not saying the shills are innocent in this regard, but sometimes I read it seems like the shill didn't realize that the real scam was on them and the investors to be able to rug pull all of them. So again, I don't know for sure. I can't say definitely, but it does seem like there's a whole complicated mess of scammers scamming the audiences, and then scammers scamming the scammers to then scam the audiences. It's fucked up. But that's why I'm here. That's why I'm transparent. That's why I'm doing it as a charity. That's why I was always so adamant on everyone saying, like, well, dude, why don't you pay for, get paid for this work? Why don't you, actually build a company around this? Like, yeah, but if it's my job and I'm getting paid by devs, then there's a giant conflict of interest, and no matter what I do, there's always going to be the question of, well, who are you really working for? But if I'm a charity, and in our charity, it clearly states in the charter that we have to help and we have it stated that the board of directors is bound to aid any non-aggressive individual or group seeking self-improvement and or the adoption or development of decentralized technology. I'll have to double check the wording, so please don't hold me to that. But adoption of decentralized technology, provided that such aid would not jeopardize the church or the charity. So we're not even giving a crap about life and limb or well-being of the directors in that regard. Because notice, in that statement, I didn't say that it would affect the standing of the directors either. So like, alright, sorry, you're duty-bound to help someone so long as it's not going to risk the church or the charity. Period. And by risk there, I just put in that case, like, look, we can't break the fucking bank to help some numbnut who's obviously trying to fuck us over or can't get their shit together. But at the same time, if you come in fucking broke with nothing going on and you're like, please, sir, I'd like to learn to code so I can take over the world. I'm like, we have to help you now. There might be a waiting list. There might need to ramp up. There might be all kinds of, like, we need you to volunteer here, here, and here to help us out. But we're duty-bound to help them. Actually, legally bound in law. But moving on. So, that's where I said, yes, they're then making these calls. The calls they're making, like update daily reward, that's for the platform itself. So this is literally the functions that are in the code that normally you'd be executing in a transaction to go through, alright? So, in all of this, this is them testing, saying, okay, what's the daily reward? Can we update that and pass that through? That's where, in here, they're double-checking that the daily reward, as passed in for now, again, to be clear, the daily reward is not just 82. It's, somewhat a calculation of what's at stake. But yeah, they're testing that, yep, we did get the expected result, which is 82. They're going through and like, okay, let's update the daily reward immediately again. So see, they did it once, and they got it, and they said, okay, we got the daily reward that we expected for now, okay? Then they try to do the update daily reward again, and this is the double check in the code that, like, no, it's too soon. You already did update the daily reward, and thus the expected one, the happy path, which you can always see with these checks, is unexpected error prompted daily reward too soon. So they confirm, yep, it does work, and then if someone tries to do it again, it's not going to work. Then they added the USDT vault, so that's the YFMS and USDT vault. That's not the one that's live coming up. That'll be coming later on. The first one is the seed vault to say stake YFMS to earn YFMS. So they do that. Then they confirm that, yep, we've got the vault in place, so that should work. Then they are transferring tokens in. In this case, they're transferring from receiver to an account. So they're setting up some accounts here to give them tokens to be able to stake. So this is supposed to be simulated stakers. To be clear, this is the test code. So you get the heads up, like, this is quite clean code. Yeah, this is the text code. Yeah, it's relatively clean. I mean, I could definitely see some places where this should be cleaned up, and to be honest, I don't like that it's just raw JavaScript. I'd rather see a proper testing framework in place to where we have proper asserts. But at the very least, they're replicating what an assert would be, because that's essentially what this if-else is. You know, it's just what the assert libraries have in there. And if you're curious, the assert libraries, we're talking about assertion, as in, like, someone makes an assertion. And thus, in that case, when they say, you know, making an assertion, in testing, it's a way for us to test things, and to do so in a way that we don't have to trust the developer to check things properly. Alright, anyway. So, moving down. That's where we want to stake some tokens. We're confirming what the invalid amount is, because that would have too many. That's then one of the users. This would be a simulation of you. So right in here, you would be the receiver in this case. And so they're trying to stake YFMS, and boom, it failed because they'd be trying to stake more than they could actually transfer. Alright, confirm that doesn't work. That's why it has unexpected pass to say, wait a minute, you're able to transfer tokens you don't actually own. Now, moving on, is going to try it from stake from another address. So they're going to try to say, okay, I want to stake this is who I am, and I'm going to try to stake from this address. And again, we've got that check to say, no, you don't get to stake someone else's YFMS. There's ways this could be adjusted, so we have some recommendations there. I'm going to be meeting with the devs later today or tomorrow to confirm some things in the design, but to be clear, while I may have my own opinion on how such a thing can be modified, it's not a security thing. It's just kind of my personal preference on how to design the software and implement it, and that's why I want to talk to them and see, like, alright, is there a thing we want to do here? As an example, it would be, or I should say, one scenario. I'm not speaking here, so again, to set that stage of one scenario where this sort of implementation would be reasonable would be in, say, a compounding staking platform. And that's where you want to leave this option so that the staking platform itself can restake somebody else's tokens. Now, most systems don't have something like that. That's why you have to go through the yield farm. You have to click, but technically that could happen. Mind you, we can't have anything on the blockchain polling, so that's usually why things like that don't happen. They just have people come through and farm, because we need a human interacting with it, executing transactions, to get the code on the blockchain to run. Well, not a human. We need something interacting with the functions to get it to run. Anyway, we then try to stake the amount that they actually have. Yes, that did stake. Then we wait a little bit to let things occur. Then we get we set an amount for, we're going to have another account try to stake things. That other account tries to stake things. Boom, that goes through. Yes, they're able to stake. We double check the balances to confirm, yes, they did stake, and that is in the vault. We double check the balance on the token to say, okay, did you actually was your tokens taken from your balance and placed in the vault? So we confirmed, okay, the vault knows you have tokens, and now we're double checking that when you sent your tokens to the vault actually has the tokens. So there's double checking things. And then that's where we're checking, like, okay, well, the vault should have them. We checked what you have, we check what you have in the vault, we check what you have, and now we're checking the balance of the vault itself. So how much does the vault have overall? Then we're moving through to more, we're getting the user's balance. Yes, we can report that. So you can always look and see what the user's balance is. We're confirming, hey, can you unstake? Yes, you can unstake. That did work. We're getting the user's balance after the unstake to confirm that happened. Getting the token balance to confirm that yes, the tokens did come from the stake to the depositor, so we did get them going back. Then this is where we're going to try to unstake things we don't have, and this is showing like, yep, that didn't work. You don't have any stake funds, because we just went through the cycle of you staked and then unstaked, and we confirmed that. So now we're going to have you try to unstake again. We're like, okay, that doesn't work. Cool, you can't unstake if you don't have any YFMS. Then we're going to double check and get the list of stakers. Or like, are you still listed? The intention being no, you are not still listed. And then on and on it goes, where it's just like, all right, we're going to double check the balances. We're going to double check the balance of the other things. We're going to try out the burn. So yep, there it is. It's successfully burned. And then that's where it's just kind of iterating through and like, all right, let's try that for multiple accounts all at the same time to make sure that we don't have any confusion or mix up on the various accounts, all right? So that's why it has all of this, like, do a bunch of stuff. Well, it's simulating a bunch of users need to interact. We just tested it with one user at a time. Now let's go ahead and try and test that with multiple users at the time. So there you go. Cool. Now, in this case, that's where having tested those multiple users at a time, we then go through and find what have they actually done. Let's go ahead and confirm. So we're seeing here, like, okay, we did that, we confirmed that, we're now outputting that. And again, there could be some ways these tests are made more resilient, but overall we can see from the structure in the code here that it does operate. Confirm the balance of the vault and the various users, check the stakes, and again, you saw there in the test code, when we get down to the end, it's doing stuff like this. It's going where it's like, all right, you all staked, we've confirmed that you have your stake in there, now we will unstake you in turn and confirm that you're being removed from the vault, that you don't have anything there anymore. And so it's going through and doing that. I'm like, all right, we'll do that, we'll do that, we'll do that, we'll do that, and so on. And it just keeps checking and outputting that information, just like you saw at the end there, and confirms that, yep, we can check the balance of them, receive all of that, and off we go. So that's not much more to say there. I mean, it's all working properly. It is working as intended. We've got tests in there to confirm that people can't, like, sneak in and steal something. That stuff is working as expected. And so that's where it functions. If you want to verify it yourself, you totally can. Let me see. Where did I put that GitHub? Here we are. Pardon me. So yeah, I'll be including this. Actually, I'll be replying to this tweet here from there. But again, if you guys want to verify yourself, the code is out there. It's public. That is the main one there. Again, apologize that I did not have time to write up the directions on how to do that. But if you're familiar with the development, or you dig into how to use Ganache and Truffle, and you do the installation, you can run that. We actually have someone working on writing up those basic directions. We'll see about adding that in. So if you guys want to replicate this and do it yourself, by all means, you're perfectly welcome to. I'd actually encourage it. It's a wonderful learning experience. But otherwise, that's it. We got the code, we ran the code, we verified that the code does seem to work, we double-check the tests to make sure that they work. Like I said, I got my own little quibbles on the actual design itself, but they're not problems, they're just, I think of things differently, I prefer to do things differently. Every developer has their own, if they've got any talent at all, in my opinion, they got their own little style on how they do things. There's also times where you might look at code, and I had this happen a couple times on projects where I'd look at the code and say, oh yeah, I don't like that design, I'd rather change it, and then they tell me, oh, well, we intend to do this thing in the next release, and now that's how we're going to integrate. Like, okay, well, now that makes perfect sense. Before it seemed silly when I thought it was the end, but now that I understand that there's something going to come out later, it makes perfect sense that you left that there so you can integrate with it. That way you don't have to keep replacing everything. So that's why I want to make it clear is no problem as far as I'm concerned. Code works, code is stable and secure, we have the test, it functions. I've got my opinion on how things will be designed, already brought those up, where we've clarified a point on that, so really, I'm content with the project as far as the code base goes. I can't say whether or not it'll make money, I can't say, whether or not it's something for you to invest in, and obviously I am only a fallible human being and have only been engaged as consultant, and so I unfortunately don't, I'm not liable to anyone for if there is a failure out there. I hate to have to say that, but technically that's the case. That's also why I try to be as transparent as possible, as you guys said. To say, like, look, I understand you can't actually know where my funds are. You can't actually know that the wallet address that I give you is the only wallet that I have. You can't know that I don't have accounts elsewhere. You can't know a lot of stuff about me. Even when I, have the charity fully formed and put out the EIN and you go look it up and you have my name, like even then you can't know any of this other shit. So that's why I decided to do the videos. That's why I decided to be transparent about the code. That's why I decided to do all of this live so you can see what's happening. So that way, at least you have as much of assurance as you possibly can that nobody's pulling anything. Because I can also tell you this whole thing about, like, I don't need a profit, yada yada, but, that's a little crazy. I understand it. Most people don't understand why autists aren't, like, hungry for profit. We want data. Whatever. So, yeah, that's it. It's there. It functions. Everything's working. Seems to be working properly. When I say seem, it's like we looked it over. It runs. Seem, you should probably understand when you say that, we're being like scientists. We're being incredibly precise. Like, I have looked at it. It appears to be correct. I can't speak authoritatively on that because I have to leave conditions for all these weird things to happen. But I'd say, yeah, it's good. It's safe. It's operating. There's no chance for bugs. There's no chance of, like, other problems that could come up. No one can do anything untoward in there. So then it's really up to you guys as to whether or not you think this will make money. So I'm not the economic expert. I'm not the financial analyst. So I'm not sure if this will make money. If you guys heard my stream from last night, I actually got an idea for a relatively automated financial analysis platform that I'm looking to launch. That'll be one of the projects that charity's doing. And I think I've worked out the tokenomics such that effectively people just like buying in to be able to use the platform initially and get some of the utility tokens to use it. We can go through more like a buy and burn and reinvestment process to have that constantly turn over and generate revenue for the charity to continue maintaining the platform. And then our intention, like we do with a lot of code, is to define the platform as an irrevocable trust, meaning that the trust is written out to define this is what the platform wants done. Basically, maintain the platform with this goal, this sort of sanctity, make sure that it doesn't have any problems, and then the irrevocable trust, being a separate legal entity, pays the charity or donates to the charity to maintain it. Which I need to double check with lawyers, but I'm pretty sure that if we do things that way, then that means that we can include a profit sharing model for you guys to help us get us off the ground, but that doesn't mean that anyone's getting profit out of the charity, because effectively the platform is its own legal entity generating its own profit. If it chooses to share that profit with the users that help maintain it, that's fine. And all it's doing is siphoning a portion of its budget off to whoever's maintaining the platform, and that would be the charity. So basically the charity would be getting payments and donations from the platform as a legal entity. And as you can see, my whole goal there is to effectively decide, make it as a fully autonomous, fully self-funding, that as people get in to get some of the tokens and then use the utility tokens to use the platform. Kind of like a vending machine. It'd be kind of like, oh, I get the utility token for the platform, I deposit, I pay the utility token into the platform, and I get financial analysis data and simulations out. Like an automated vending machine for financial analysis. But it's just churning over those tokens, doing things to get profit out of there, but it's not the charity getting the profit, it's the platform getting the profit. It's a separate legal entity, like a corporation basically, and then it is paying the charity to maintain the platform on its behalf. Which means anything above and beyond what covers the budget to the charity to pay for that and maintain it can go out to you guys. But I can't commit yet. I gotta talk to lawyers, be absolutely sure that's going to be reasonable. For my initial check, that does seem to be the case, and that's kind of our plan here to build that out. But again, more things we're working on, why we will have more stuff coming out, why we will have more project in place. A lot of people are very interested in all the ideas. We're trying to onboard more folks to work with the charity. We just need to get our first real win here by getting the full Audible library done, getting that integrated first with Team Finance. I want to talk with Lid. I got feelers out for them to make that contact. And then get Yelled Finance, because they've been so wonderful and so patient in waiting for us to get out to have a fully auditable process. So they are reserved as the first premier project, like the pilot project we're doing all of this on. And so once we have that, which should be mid-October, late October, then we're off to the races. From there, hopefully all of that work, over that time, we'll have been able to get enough donations. We'll be properly fully incorporated then, so actually everything will be entirely legally tax deductible within U.S. jurisdiction. You'll have to check your own jurisdiction if you're outside the U.S. And then it's just iterating through, auditing projects, helping people get out, starting up the educational programs, and in any of theirs, get through to this financial analysis platform that we want to get done. We're actually thinking of using that as kind of like our first community educational project to put together. Get a bunch of young people, get a bunch of new folks. Doesn't have to be young, but new folks that want to learn how to do this, team them up with more experienced people, and have them all roll this out. And a lot of the stuff, like the infrastructure, the servers, the various things, that's the experience that I have for the past several decades, and the other people on my team, so we're aware of that. Question on PAMP YMS. That's up to you guys. I can't give financial analysis. I'm just going to point out that this video is going out in the middle of the night in the U.S. Not a lot of people have seen it yet, and you are the first ones to hear that in my opinion, actually professional opinion, because I've actually been engaged as a consultant on this. In my professional opinion, the code is solid in that it functions. It does not appear to have any gaps, any bugs. It does not appear to have any vulnerabilities. And we just went through the test, so you guys saw that yes, the tests do test everything, and it does function. There is a link to the code in the chat there. I'll be responding to the message on Twitter to let everyone know that, there's the code, and they can go test it themselves. And if you'd like to verify that, you are more than welcome to. So other than that, that should be everything. So yeah, like I'm saying, I can't tell you whether or not to pump it yourself, but if you want to pump the YMFS moonshot, then you definitely can. In pumping it, maybe buy the dip first, or actually, technically it's not a dip, just buy it before it skyrockets, and then spread the video around. So, but your call. I'm not telling you what to do. I don't know if this is going to make money. I'm not the financial analyst here. All I can say is that the code is functional, and there does not seem to be any vulnerabilities, and the devs have, at least in my opinion, acted very professionally, and they have made sure that they've done everything I feel that they can to ensure that the code is solid. But to be clear, I'm not auditing the code. I have not, the code when deployed to the blockchain, I have no proper verification that does match, but that is where when the vaults come out and the transfers are made, I will look and verify that the code that was deployed does match up there. So again, I'm being clear, not an audit, because I have a conflict of interest in that I've been engaged to consult to verify the security and sanctity of the code as it's deployed, but I feel that even as the consultant, not an auditor, it's still my due diligence when it's deployed to double check that what I reviewed is what's on the blockchain. So again, that's where, as this comes out, as they're making the transfers, I'll be double checking that. So again, not the point of I'm auditing, not the point of I'm confirming. I have a serious conflict of interest there if I was, but I'm going to double check the work to say, yes, what I've reviewed as a consultant and what changes we recommended and have been implemented are what was deployed to the blockchain. So at least you can have that clear statement from me of, yep, everything that I said prior to this does still hold because I was able to double check and say it's on there. So again, not exactly an audit, to be clear, but there it is. So yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate your taking your advice from hallucinating talking dogs. Just take nice advice. I'm only going to tell you to do nice things. I mean, maybe I'll be a little bit of a dick and be fuck that guy. But, I'm just being emotional and saying how I feel. I'm not going to tell you to do bad things. So, if you got, a Son of Sam thing going and you think I'm starting to tell you to do horrible stuff, no, that's a scam. That's not me. That's someone posing at me. They stole my avatar, changed their name. Just be careful there, alright? So, only take my advice when it is good advice and you think that it is reasonable advice. Otherwise, I'm not going to tell you that, and that's somebody scamming and posing as me. So, yeah, cool. Hope you guys like that. You get the first word. So congratulations, your choice on what to do with that. If we take a quick look, let me see here. Oh my. Oh my, people might want to move. It looks like the price has jumped to 113. So, I don't know if that's me. If it is, I'm very flattered. Like, wow. I don't know if I had power in that regard, but there you go. So, like, cool. You're calling what to do with this. Looks like the price is jumping up. Oh, 114 now. Wow. Okay. Holy shit, do I have that kind of power? Oh, that's not good. I don't feel safe with that. This is another reason why I'm getting into charity. This is another reason why I am being totally transparent, because I am the opinion. It doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how good you are, doesn't matter what good intentions you have. You could be like the purest person ever, but like get too much power and it will corrupt you no matter what happens. That's why I want to do all this to keep this in check, to be like, look, if I start with everything wide open from the beginning, and I already set up that like I'm legally bound not to realize a profit from this work, and there's no way I can get out of that, then, you know, at a certain point, if I do realize that I've gotten some power, then I can't really abuse it, because like, well, I've already set everything up here, that if I tried to like abuse the power that I have later on, everyone's gonna notice, and we're like, what did you do? So that's where, alright, I'm hoping to do this right so that the power can't corrupt me. I don't want the power, I know it can happen, so I'm trying to be safe there. It's a religious thing. Concentration of power is bad. Concentration of power is inherently bad. It's, like, actually one of the great, like, pitfalls of life. Essentially, in the church, our opinion is, well, not opinion, our theological assessment is that we don't really have something like a Satan or a devil. What we have as our great evil is centralized power. Because as power centralizes, it inherently becomes corrupt and tainted, and begins corrupting and tainting everyone involved with it and that has it. And so by our stance, centralized power is the great evil in the world. And unfortunately, well, I should say, we should not be attempting to crush that, because that is not the way to counter such problems, because if you attack centralized power, it will only become stronger and more centralized. So the only way to attack centralized power is non-violently through innovation that brings about more decentralized tech and greater self-reliance. So that's it. We're at war against centralized power. It's kind of our holy mission, and we're doing it in a non-violent way because, one, we're non-violent guys, and two, we realize that it wouldn't apply anywhere. So, yep, just my opinion. No financial advice. Yes, obviously, but do I have a target price? I want to see how far this thing can go, because right now I'm treating the wallet that you guys have been donating in as not exactly the charity treasury, because, you know, the charity doesn't exist yet, and I do have, like, bills to pay and such, so I just can't keep up on the accounting there. I do have some stuff that I need to work through, but for the most part, I'm holding on to this. I'm definitely going to stake it, but I might need to sell some off to cover various expenses. Essentially, it just comes to the first. It's like, how much can this make until the first, and do I need to sell anything to have money to continue working on the charity and getting things, you know, ramped up? So, really, question of whether or not I sell is kind of up to you guys as to what other donations can come in to help cover expenses, and whether or not I have to sell. Otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, when staking rewards are out, we're staking, you know, on behalf of the charity that we're going to be managing. We're just going to stake there and let it ride. And then whatever happens forward, when we get fully incorporated properly, and thus have the full EIN and really need to keep our books going, I'm going to donate, like, pretty much all of this to the charity. The only thing that I'm going to sell or cash out is, like, things I need to cover bills and such, and I don't expect that to be very much. So there you go. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what is happening. So there you are. As far as folks that are, for anyone that might tell you like, oh, this is just another clone, yes, they're reusing code from YF Beta. They have changed some of the values in there, so it's a slightly different, you know, operation that's happening, and they intend to integrate with different platforms. So there you go. Hope we can see YFMS 2. Oh yeah, the YF Beta jumped, and YFMS 2. Yeah, I see no reason why that shouldn't happen. So, but all the money went to Beta. Well, they could come over here. That's the point. And people have made profits on beta. People have made profits on other things. I mean, every time somebody asks me, "Oh, which of these Y clones would you buy? Would you buy YF Beta, YF MS? Would you buy into this YF Max thing coming up?" I haven't looked at YF Max, so please don't take that as an endorsement. I'm just listening on there. And my stance is like, buy all of them. Just diversify your assets. They're all doing things slightly differently. They're all going to be making profits on different curves. So just like spread it out. So we'll be staking. Yes, I will say I will be staking my YFMS. My intention there is to ride it as long as we can, for until we need money for some sort of expense. So the only time I'm going to be selling something is if we run out of funds elsewhere, and I might have to sell some to, cover more charity expenses and get things ramped up. But I'd rather just let it ride in the stake, and then from riding in the stake, be able to actually, I intend, because right now I've been keeping the bookkeeping as effectively, these are my funds that you guys are donating to me, and then I'm turning around and donating those to the charity. As soon as we have that properly incorporated and have the tax exempt status in place. And so that's where am I a trader? I am not really a trader. I know I know economics in that case, and that comes from my work with banks and financial service companies, so I'm aware of economics, and I know the theory and the numbers and stuff. I'm not solid on the, Keyes versus Hayek dichotomy. I think, different times for different ones, given different circumstances. But I don't, when someone says trader, I usually think somebody who's trying to, do the technical analysis and find the swings and do that, and, they don't really care. Whoa! It's up to 137. Holy shit. Okay. Damn. That is... Damn. Now let me try this. 1 minute seems to be a little short. So, wow. There it is. So yeah, here it was up there. There it is jumping up. If we zoom in, yeah, it's just jumping right up there. So, wow. Holy crap. Okay, shit. Oh, yeah, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. So, yeah, green dildo. And now everyone gets the joke from before. Because that's what the dev was doing. Dev finished this code a little while ago. I and the team were a little busy with things, so we had to come back to this. And so that's why, it's not like they were, fucking around and not doing YFMS. They did YFMS. They finished their work. They were waiting for us to come back. And so, there it is. And so, yeah, I guess I got a 1 minute green dildo. It's okay. I don't know if I feel comfortable having all this power, but alright, sweet. I'll giggle about how I can... Oh, damn. Jesus. That's kind of insane. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah. There it goes. It's getting kind of insane. Damn. Alright, anyway, so as I was saying, that's where, you guys can do whatever you want here. As I said, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to stake it. The whole intention is to kind of ride this out for as long as we can, only selling what tiny little bit of various assets that I have in the wallet you guys can see that you've been sending your donations to cover expenses for the church and the charity getting set up, and to kind of formulate things for the upcoming audit DAO. And so when we have the EIN there and have the tax exempt status properly filed, and therefore we are truly officially tax exempt. It's not just the church clause of churches can take tax deductible donations and we just have to wait. Then, yeah, I'll just donate all of this to the charity, and that's it. It'll be the charity stockpile. So it might get, liquidated at some point, but preferably we'd just be staking it in whatever the revenue generation scheme is and making money like everyone else. So there you go. Any sign of legitimacy makes a difference. Yeah, I can definitely see that. So yeah, I gave my recommendation. Code's solid. The market is taking its action. Yep, looks like it's swing setting up now. So, wow, okay. And that line right there, that's gonna affect the swing set. because people are going to be buy, 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 buy. They're probably going to want to buy up to about that point. So I can't say for sure, but I would be saying probably looking at the next swing happening somewhere between the 135, 137 range. But again, can't hold me to that. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not a financial advisor. I just know economics. I know my experience from traditional finance and coding in that area. And I like numbers and graphs, and this stuff just kind of comes to me. So I'm from having seen swing trading and things, that's where I'm thinking, but I'm not a trader. When you ask that, I'm saying that I'm an investor in the sense that I like tech. I invest in tech I want to see happen, and I don't give a crap about just flipping things to make money. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just like I don't care about that, and thus I understand the concepts of swing trading, and I kind of understand some of the numbers that can be used and how you can measure things, but I've just never dug that far into it. So realistically, if you want to know about the trading aspect, like how to maximize on these swings and such, I'd actually go look over at the Wolfpack. I know some folks think they have a shady reputation. I've been talking with them, and you know, I will obviously reserve judgment as I get to know someone, but talking with them, how they behave, some of the things we've been talking about working on, they seem like a decent bunch. They just seem to have gotten burned like a lot of people on various scams. So I don't know. You can reserve your judgments, but over there they've got some decent videos for teaching you how to trade a bit. And there's tons of stuff online that you can find too. So please don't think I'm committing to that. Hold on. So yeah, but it's okay to say it's all relative and no one thinks it's financial advice. Oh yeah, no, I understand. So that's what I'm saying, is like, I'm saying that, you know, the number is, I think the swing trade is going to kick off again as this thing goes back up to like 137, 135. I think maybe top price, that is really hard to say. Let me say some of the thoughts that I have going into that. So I think one of the things that will help influence this price going up is the stability and legitimacy of the project and the number of scams that have come in. So previously, if you had asked me this before GemSwap just had their insanity just occur with their liquidity, they might have been conned by a dev that stole from them. They might have rug pulled themselves. Nobody's really sure. Yeah, there you go, Wolfpack on Discord. But that's where here, yeah, those guys. That's where here, if you had asked me previously, before we had a few rug pulls over the past few days, I would have said, I think the market might be not as receptive to another Y product, even if it's trying to distinguish itself with different integrations and such. So I might have said, maybe 500, 750, possibly up to 1,000. But now that we've just had a bunch of rugs and shit happen, and people are looking for something to make some money on, looking for, as you said, some authenticity and legitimacy here, I could easily see them wanting to come over here to try to recover from those losses that they just faced. And so I could definitely, I would be thinking, I could see this going up to like 1,500, 2,000. If YF Beta continues having problems, and they can't, I mean, I'm not knocking the guys, but like, if they can't get their stuff together in time, I could see a bunch of people ditching their YF Beta, or at least a portion of that, to come over here and buy in, which that might possibly push it higher than YF Beta at some point. So I'm really like spitballing. Again, not financial advice, I'm not sure, but like maybe up to 2,500 at the most. I'm even hesitant to say that, but you see what I'm getting at here. My reasoning of like, oh yeah, there's been a lot of problems. People have invested in other things. They've either been conned by various projects, or projects are having issues and they're not turning the profit they'd like, and so they might look over here, especially if you guys share the video and everything, to say, you know, this one seems solid. Even if I'm not sure it's going to turn the best profit, it seems like it's not going to steal my fucking money. So why don't I put it in here? And the first YMFS stake is YFMS for YFMS. So if you hold on to it, if you buy it, hold on to it, stake it, and then wait, then you could dribble that out, put it back out in the market, and I would just say, like, hold off on maybe putting in liquidity, or, yeah, maybe just stake it into the ETH YFMS pool, to you realize arbitrage feed profit there, and then that's where you can eke out some of the profit you're getting from staking. I usually do 50-50, but that's up to you guys. But when I see something that's got staking rewards, and I'm in there and I'm getting the thing back, and like let's say, for example, the YFMS ETH pair, and I stake my YFMS and it's doling out YFMS to me, well then I'm going to take 50% of that profit from the YFMS stake, and I'm going to go over to the liquidity pool and I'm going to deposit. I'm going to put that into the ETH YFMS pair to get that profit there. So you can see it's like, all right, I'm not worried about the impermanent loss over there that might occur because, fuck it, I'm getting the arbitrage cost, and that's only a portion of my profits that I got from the staking, and then I'll take the staking profit there and put that right back into the stake to compound it and roll it over. So, if all that makes sense, as you might have noticed, I'm a big fan of diversification, and I'm a big fan of, like, getting my cut at every stage along the trade. So, not a lot of folks do that sort of thing. But like I said, I'm an investor, not a trader. I invest in technology that I like. I invest in technology that seems to go somewhere. And when I invest, I want to just put my money somewhere and then not have to think about it. So that's why I don't want to pay attention to the trade. And it can be interesting and exciting. But anyway, that's it. I got a lot of stuff I need to get to. I got a lot of tasks I need to complete. Later on today, 1 p.m. Central Time, we'll be having our first donation drive for the first charity. That's where we'll be, again, giving out a limited time special NFT as the inauguration of all of this. To be clear, the incorporation paperwork is still in, but the first charity is a church, and the church has been operating as a charity doing this work. Basically, everything that I've done that you've seen is all me working on behalf of the church. And so that's where technically, you can legally, or there is a provision in law where you can attempt to claim deductions to us so far as a tax deduction, but it's up to you to make that case legally. We can offer our opinion and insight, and we of course would assist with any investigation if necessary, but that's also why we're quickly running through and getting incorporated. So I just have to say that. I can't tell you these donations are tax deductible, but yeah, they're probably tax deductible if you do the work. And we're very quickly incorporating. The incorporation paperwork is going through. As soon as that's in, we have the EIN. Then we already have all the paperwork primed up. The lawyers paid to do the tax-exempt filing, so that'll go through, and then that should take care of everything else. So we'll have later today that, hold on, one more, I will. That's where the outcome stream, yes, I will retweet the outcome of the stream so that you can retweet it, yes. In fact, I'll do that right now. So as I was saying things, here we are. So I was saying things, that's where we'll be giving out a non-transferable NFT. I'm doing that because it's a donation, and we are treating the NFT as a receipt, and by having it be non-transferable, we are removing or trying to eliminate the possibility that there could be any sort of tax liability later on. Because, if we're like, oh, here, we gave you this piece of art, and it's transferable, and then later on this piece of art goes for like thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, then we just created a giant tax liability problem for you guys. So, to be clear, the NFT won't be transferable. You make your donation, you'll get the NFT. It'll have the charity logo in there with a special addition on there to indicate that this is like the primo, I was there at the ground floor, boys. I really am the cool kid that was in this from the beginning. So if you want that, since it can't be transferred off a wallet, make sure you're doing it to a wallet that you want to keep. Or if you want to have it on multiple wallets, just donate multiple times. Now, when we do that, to be clear, we're going to maintain ownership of the NFT and the donation platform. And so the idea is that we will send that out. You'll get the NFT, and when we come back in on do our next demo, then that's where we'll change the NFT that the donation platform is offering. In fact, I'll offer you guys that Twitter link right there. So that's me reporting out the summary and the result. And so you can retweet that if you'd like, share that around. Thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate that. So who will see Lambo? Please have a moderator, because thank you very much. And I'll get to that previous question there in a second. So here, where the fuck was I saying? Oh yeah, we'll do that. To heads up on that, like I said, NFT non-transferable to eliminate or to try to eliminate tax liability for you guys. There's some limitations in the NFT specification that we can't do quite everything we want to do, but as the specification, the standard for ERC 721, the NFT one, advances, we plan on coming back and updating the metadata in the NFT to have more information. On top of that, when we close out the round of donations for that NFT and we change the donation platform and move to the other one, that's where we're going to go back in and find through the transactions, okay, how much did this person donate? And then we'll update the metadata. We're planning to. We want to run an experiment, so we're planning to. So we're trying our best here. But we're planning to then come back, and on the NFT that you have, we'll update the metadata as we close it out to say, okay, not only does this person, were they one of the cool kids, not only were they there in at the ground floor, like literally there the first time this was going on. So like they get later on, you can be telling everyone like, yeah, I'm really old hat like that. I'm old fag. Been here from the beginning in DeFi. You'll have this token. But on top of that, you can show how committed you were because we'll update the metadata as the receipt to say, okay, when we close this out, this donation round, here's how much this person, whoever has this NFT, donated this much over the course of the donation round. So feel free to donate. Now, mind you, unfortunately, the way the donation and everything works, we're only taking donations there in Ethereum. We will have another way if you want to donate other tokens. You can totally do that. You can just send them straight to the church address. But again, to be clear, because of the tax liability and like how to calculate the donation, we needed to set up that it's only Ethereum right now. That seemed to be the easiest way, unfortunately. But you can always use the church treasury address and just boom, send anything else you want over there. So like with YFMS, if you're happy with this, you like this, you make a good profit, you enjoy what's going on, please feel free to donate that. Pretty much donate anything you want. So to be clear, when you say the pre-sale is already done, the YFMS pre-sale, yes, the YFMS pre-sale is already done. The Audit DAO pre-sale, that is not done. Audit DAO pre-sale, not complete. Audit DAO has actually not been formed yet. Audit DAO requires a lot of legal paperwork to go in because of how it's being structured. The fact that we want Audit DAO to actually like have to listen to the votes of the community, but still have legal responsibility to not fall foul of like following through on bad votes, you know, stuff that is clearly detrimental to the sector. There's all this work done to define code bases as irrevocable trusts, to get proper partnerships with various teams and other groups. So Audit DAO is taking a while, and guys, I and the guys in the church realize like, okay, Audit DAO is great, but it's going to take a long time, and we're going to have a hard time providing any benefit to the community or helping out at all until that's done. And so we said, okay, how about we just incorporate our church as a charity of kind of a pilot of what we want Audit DAO to be. And so Audit DAO will be completely separate and independent from us as we form that. We're not looking to have control of that, but we're starting the church charity ourselves to kind of do the same thing Audit DAO is doing. And our intention is, as Audit DAO forms, so long as Audit DAO doesn't turn into a bunch of fucking douchebags, because we don't own it, that you guys will own that, you can decide who gets to be on the board and everything, then as long as it doesn't turn out to be complete and utter shit at some point, then the church charity will just continue serving Audit DAO in whatever capacity is necessary. And so there'll be some overlap, some help, but again, that'll be varying. So again, this is kind of a bootstrap charity that we're setting up to help us get to forming proper Audit DAO. So again, pre-sale on YFMS, yes, that is closed. Pre-sale on Audit DAO, that hasn't even started yet. Anyone that donates up until the formation of Audit DAO to my tip address there, and I'll put that in again, if you send me the transaction hash, like the link from Etherscan or something, then we'll make sure that you get in on that pre-sale for the Audit DAO. Now again, because it's a non-profit and it's a charity, and the voting process, you know, we need to make sure that it's entirely legal. If there's technically not a pre-sale, then we'll just end up giving them to you. If we work out like, sorry, we legally can't do that, then we'll just give you some of the tokens. We'll be like, well, you volunteered and you donated, here you go. But we're setting it up as a donation, and so that's why it might technically not be a pre-sale, in the sense that the token itself should not have a we want to avoid that wildly fluctuating value, because we're looking for audit data to be something not that you're so much trading as you're using to have a say in how the sector gets secured and how things operate. But again, that's only me saying things like this because we need to get a lot of lawyers in place and need to vote on that. We need to get advice on that. We need you guys to vote and all that. So I don't want to necessarily commit to anything, but our intention is to minimize tax liability and make sure that Audit DAO can operate as a charity. So again, the sale that is tomorrow is actually more of a donation drive. It's not a sale because we're giving you a non-transferable NFT to commemorate the inauguration of the church and that we're kicking off. And so that is where you can make that donation to the church. And if you're in the U.S., technically, donations to a church operating as a charity are tax deductible. Or technically, donations to churches are tax deductible. Churches are not required to file for nonprofit status or file for the tax exempt status. If they do, then everything's golden. If they don't, then it's up to you if you're ever audited to confirm that. But again, literally, the incorporation is in place. We're filing for the tax exempt status as soon as we get the EIN for the incorporation paperwork being done. And thus, when we come back, any donation made through the church will be tax deductible. So, that point there. And our goal is to shoot for end of year, so that way, you guys can take advantage of that. So again, right there, feel free to send it in now if you'd like, but later today, we'll be giving out the NFT. So by all means, feel free to wait until then if you'd like. Perfectly fine there. Otherwise, to be clear, if you want me to have funds to survive and pay bills so I do not become homeless, send them to the tip address there. If you would like to donate to the charity coming up, we'll be doing that donation drive later on. Minimum donation is 0.1 ETH, just because we got to have something to cover the various costs and can't let people we can't just accept anything, otherwise we wouldn't be able to handle transaction fees or whatnot. Understand that's an NFT, so it gets minted, therefore it's a little more expensive than other things. So, with that, thank you very much. I hope this was beneficial to you. It seems to be, given that we're already up to 122. Wow. Alright, cool. Happy trading, guys. Hope you have a good day or night or whatever it is, wherever you are. And with that, I will get back to work on more stuff so we